And it appears we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Mario Loya Show podcast. This is episode number 5, and it's going to be a very special episode because it is UFC 264 is tomorrow. Today is Friday, the 9th, and I am so excited for this fight card. I'm looking at it right now, and I'm going to give my predictions on it here in a little bit. And I've been following it pretty closely, and it's going to be a crazy fight card. Amazing fight card. Anytime Conor McGregor is fighting on any pay per view, it's gonna generate a lot of views, and we are really looking forward to that. So that's gonna be kind of the last thing we kind of do here. We have a lot to cover, from video games to a couple of sports topics, a couple of NFL stuff, and a whole bunch of UFC stuff. So usually, I like to do the, fighting football stuff and then save the gaming stuff for the end. But we're going to go ahead and change it up this week because it is a very special week. It is UFC 264 again. Make sure you guys go out and purchase it. We're going to go ahead and start out with gaming. And uh, PlayStation has been PlayStation. It's mostly dominated by PlayStation and Nintendo this week. There's brand new Switch that was made available a couple of days ago, or was announced, and people were kind of wondering, there was this great big rumor that there was some kind of new Switch, and a lot of people were predicting that it may be, a Switch Pro or something along those lines, and everybody was wrong pretty much. It was a Switch with an OLED screen. I believe it's a little bit bigger, and a couple of other features. The stand is pretty much a little different. But around the gaming community, a lot of people were left disappointed because of this. They're kind of predicting. I don't know what people were holding out for. Um, I actually thought it might have been like a Switch Pro or something along those lines. It made sense because of the new PlayStation 5 and the new Xboxes coming out. So it made sense for them to go ahead and relaunch a new Switch, with better graphics and everything along those lines. However, the biggest thing for this new Switch is that it's just an OLED screen now. And, I'm not an owner of a Switch. I had a Switch, I sold it because I just never played it. I mostly got it to play Pokemon and probably, Super Smash. And I didn't play any of those games. As soon as I got my Xbox, that thing was gathering dust. So I decided I'll go ahead and, you know, get rid of the thing. And, those things are still pretty hard to find. And it's still an amazing console. A lot of people like it. It's not my cup of tea. I'm not much of a handheld gamer. Um, but I honestly don't know if I'll purchase this new Switch. Knowing me, I probably will, and I'll play it for like a week or two, and then it'll just gather dust. I'm not much of a Nintendo guy. You know, I'll play your Pokemon games. Even like I didn't even finish Pokemon Shield. That was the game I got. I finished Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. You know, because that was the original, and Pokemon Shield I didn't even finish. I bought the expansion and everything. I didn't even touch the expansion. Probably played it for like 5 minutes expansion, and I didn't even finish the regular game. And I honestly don't know why, but I lost. You know, if I'm not gonna go and play the one thing I really want to play on the platform, I'm not gonna finish the game. What's the point of even getting it? But you never know. Nintendo and Xbox. The rumor is that they're getting kind of close, and if for some amazing reason in Xbox Game Pass goes onto Switch, I'm going to be the first guy in line to purchase any kind of Switch, because even though I'm not a handheld gamer, it will definitely be nice to have a Switch whenever you go on road trips or whatever, and turn it on and boom, you know what? There's Xbox Game Pass and all of their games of the library will be available to you. And most of the games I play are on Game Pass. A couple aren't, but so that would be amazing. So just for that reason, I would purchase one. But yeah, so that was the new Switch. I watched, the who's I think I was watching Mav. Mav was talking about it, but I went back and I kind of he was like, I think he was the first one I saw that reported on it. Like he was doing some kind of stream. If you don't know Mav, he does the Xbox Ultimate podcast. Go hit that up, check him out. Great podcast. And he was doing some kind of stream. I actually fell asleep during the stream at night, and I woke up next morning, and then all of a sudden there was a Switch announced, a new Switch, and he was talking about it, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" And he was kind of like down on it, and a lot of people I think are, but if it's not broken, don't fix it. I don't think so. That's kind of, I believe, Nintendo's mentality there, and so if you want to give it your $350, go ahead and do it. If not, you don't have to, but we'll see it's yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about the new Switch. I mean, I'm not much of a Nintendo guy. I don't, a lot of those games are kind of meh for me. Um, but yeah, if you enjoy it, good for you. And the next, uh, man, I wish I had the article in front of me, but Avalanche is very happy with Xbox. So if you don't know, Avalanche and Xbox worked on the new game that was announced during E3. What the hell was it called? I could see it in my head. It wasn't a very long game. Contraband, and so it's going to be kind of a live service game, I believe they said. Multiplayer live service game where you pretty much go about on heists, like the title would predict, like the title says. And Avalanche has been one of these studios that has been in kind of in the rumor mill that's going to possibly get purchased by Xbox. And that, if you would ask me right now to stick my neck on the line and say the next studio that's going to be announced that will be acquired by Xbox, I would have to say Avalanche. That would be my guess. There's a lot of rumors going around, but that's been kind of the one studio name that's been brought out the most. Those Warner Brother Studios, the NetherRealm, and Rocksteady. Those are kind of very far out there. Crytek would be great just because we could get the IP for uh, Son of Rome, last Son of Rome, and but I mean, yeah. So I would say Avalanche. That's been the one studio that everybody out there is kind of really saying that that's going to be the next one, and it makes sense. Working on this game Contraband alongside Microsoft, and in their article they wrote that they were very very happy with Microsoft pretty much. So that's kind of, so maybe they'll bring them in kind of the PlayStation route, like how PlayStation did usually does with their acquisitions, like they did with Housemarque and Housemark. I believe it's Housemark, not Housemarque. Housemark, and yeah, so that would make the most sense for me. I would love Crytek as well. That would kind of be my second choice, and yeah, so Avalanche is very happy with Xbox, which is kind of good for if you were one of these people who would like Avalanche to get acquired by Xbox by Microsoft. So yeah, now it's kind of these last few things. I guess I could kind of say what I've been playing. Still been playing. I kind of put down and haven't played quite much of what is it? Yakuza Like a Dragon. Put it down, and then I kind of gone. I was really wanting to play some kind of RPG, and I started this game quite a while ago, and then I played like the first 5 minutes, and then I stopped and I never went back to it. But the Outer Worlds, I've been playing that game, and that game is. I'm just like, where has this game been all my life? It's such a good game. It's my cup of tea. It's an RPG, Western RPG. It feels like Fallout's little brother. Honestly, that's what it feels like. The dialogue is great. I love how whenever you level up, you get to kind of choose which attributes you want to add to your character. So if you want, your character to have great dialogue, and you and is open to having more dialogue whenever speaking to people. You can do that. If you want your character to be heavy melee and fuck up a lot of things whenever there's some kind of fight going on, you can do that. And the other thing I like is weaknesses. So, for my character, it gives you options to accept these weaknesses or turn them off. And I've accepted two of them. The first one, I didn't read the damn thing. I believe it was kind of like some kind of brain damage or something like that. And I didn't do that one. But the other two I did do was I kind of do have this tendency of jumping off of high shit in games. So on a lot of so I've been jumping off of things and then I've been landing. I'm like, oh fuck. And after I did that a couple times, it brought up, you know, weaknesses. A weakness has been added to your character, and then that's you can accept these or you can decline them. I always accept them because it's a cool thing to kind of it gives your character more of a personality. And so now my guy's kind of crippled is one of them, and so whenever he runs kind of slow. So that stinks, but it's still pretty cool. It's a cool feature. I love it. I wish more games would adopt this kind of stuff. And he's also, since I've been taking so much damage, another thing was like he's more prone or to receiving damage. I think his like blocking stuff or ability to take damage was reduced by 30%. So yeah, so it's a fun game. I highly recommend it. I'm going to play the shit out of that game, and hopefully next time I talk to you guys, I'll be done with it. But I doubt it. A lot of stuff is going on in my life right now, but yeah, it's a fun game if you like, sci-fi game. If it's a good game to get you high motivated and hyped for Starfield, I would say. This is kind of be, it's gonna it. I feel like Starfield is gonna be a lot like this game, and it's great. I know it launched for Xbox One, but with the enhancements and all that stuff, it looks amazing on the Series X. It really does. So go ahead and play that game if you haven't played it yet. I believe you get the expansions already with Game Pass. If not, I think it's only like $25 for both of them. And I've been hearing great things about both those expansions. So that's what I've been playing. And also last night, I was playing that, and right before bed, I was gonna try to go to sleep kind of early last night, but that didn't work because UFC 4, the video game, got added to Game Pass through the whatever it's called, EA partnership. And man, those sports simulator games, whenever I play them, I cannot freaking put them down. I was playing that game for like 2 hours last night, and it just completely, the beginning your character, the career, whatever part, and I just couldn't put it down. It was those sports sims are addicted. They're like crack. It was, but yes, I'm probably gonna play a little bit more of that. There always comes a point where I get tired of those games and I just stop playing them completely. And then I'm like, man, I wish I had those 20 hours, 25 hours back. But oh well, it's something else to play, something to keep you busy. So UFC 4 is now on Game Pass. So if you haven't played that game, I was gonna buy it earlier, but I didn't hear very good things about it. It was much like, the classic sports stuff. It's copy and paste kind of stuff. And it does feel a little bit like UFC 3. Um, I feel like the ground stuff is a little bit better. The striking is pretty much the same, which I like. Um, but I haven't played it too much in depth. But it's still a fun game, especially if you're a UFC fan. It's nothing like if you would watch a real UFC fight, obviously, but much like any sports games are. But still, it's really it's a fun game and it's a cool experience. So back to the gaming topics. PlayStation Blue Point question mark. So PlayStation kind of made a little bit of a slip whenever they announced the acquisition of Housemark. They also, whoever was in charge of their Twitter, I can't remember where they announced it. I think it was on Twitter. Whoever kind of made a mistake by also announcing the acquisition of Bluepoint. And Bluepoint has since that tweet has since been dropped, has since been deleted. And Bluepoint has come out and said that they are very much independent and that's how they are going to stay. So the question becomes now of why was this why why was this cover art, why was this picture even out in existence if that's the case, if it wasn't a finalized deal. And the thing is, my opinion is that they are still in negotiations and it eventually will get announced. However, it's not in negotiations, and maybe they did it to get a leverage on Bluepoint in the negotiations, or I don't know what the slip up was there, but it was out there in the world, and everybody's running wild with it now. And if Bluepoint does get acquired, it kind of for me it feels like they lose a little bit of their credibility. Coming out and saying that this is 100% not true and we are very much independent and that's how we will want to stay and that's how we are going to stay. And yet, here in a maybe in a couple days, a couple weeks, they get announced that are being acquired by PlayStation. But Bluepoint is one of these studios that thrives on what they were most known for is going back and remastering games. Which like to do with, I believe, Demon Souls 3, Dark Souls, whatever was just announced for whenever exclusive for PlayStation, whenever it was the PlayStation 5 was released. And so yeah, so we'll see what happens there. Kind of strange that slip up happened and Blue Point came out and said that they are very much independent, but I don't know. We'll see definitely. And next thing is this studio was announced with Housemark, but I've totally forgot it. It's Nix's. And Nix's is they do one thing very well, one thing great, and that is porting console games over to PC. That's who PlayStation acquired. And I was watching the Iron Lords podcast, and those guys going absolutely nuts over this thing. And I believe it was Lord King or King. He said, this kind of PlayStation fanboys is worst nightmare because that was kind of always um the hill they were standing on was that all of our games are exclusive to PlayStation. You can't get them on PC, not like how Xbox does, kind of day and date Xbox day and date PC. And PlayStation's kind of making a shift, and they're wanting to make the most out of their money, squeeze the most out of their dollar, and launch everything. And I believe there will be a day in the future. Who knows if it's going to be in this generation? But PlayStation games will also launch day and date on PlayStation and day and date on Xbox. That is 100% going to happen sometime in the future. Um, PlayStation is a company that's going to try to nickel and dime you for everything they possibly can. And if there's money out there to be made, they're going to take it. So there's that. So if I was a PlayStation guy, that acquisition of Nixus wouldn't hype me whatsoever. It would just be like, as soon as I would kind of realize what actually it is, what they do, what they are known best for, I would be so heartbroken. But I'm not a fanboy. I go wherever my voice is heard. I go wherever I can squeeze the most out of my dollar. And right now that's Xbox, so I'm going to be there. Eventually, whenever PlayStations are made readily available, I will go and get one. But for the moment, I am staying away from PlayStation, and we'll see how this generation goes. The next thing was $30 has been announced for the if you want to play the expansion of Ghost of Toshima, Ghost of Ikishima. So if you would read into this, kind of do a little bit of research, not really research, but read what PlayStation is charging you for. They're charging you $20 for the expansion, Ghost of Ikishima. That's what they're charging you for. So where's that other $10 going? And they are also charging you $10 for the enhancements to the game. So I believe they're like fixing the lips and ears and shit like that. which they should already give you for free because every fucking buddy does. It's not our fault that your game launched fucked up with these things. So that's what they were charging for. And they're also charging you for the PlayStation 5 upgrade. Okay. And they are also charging you for being able to use the haptic feedback on your controller. That's what they were charging you for that $10. So essentially, they are charging you $10 so you can use your console that you already paid $500 for. That's what they are charging you for. And the worst part of all this is that PlayStation people, I haven't heard one single motherfucking PlayStation guy say anything negatively about this. All everything I've heard, um, pushback I've heard is all from Xbox people, and that's not good. That's not good because now PlayStation is just gonna continue to do this. PlayStation is one of these companies, or Sony is one of these companies that they have to be shamed into doing the right thing. And right now, there's no shame coming from their fans, so they're going to continue to do this. They're going to continue to nickel and dime you. This is Jim Ryan. This is why Jim Ryan was brought in, so that way he can squeeze out every single dollar from consumers that he possibly can. He's not a gamer. He's a financial guy. He's a money guy. So he's going to go ahead and he's going to figure out how are we going to squeeze every single dime from our players. And yeah, so that's unfortunate. If you are a PlayStation owner, you should be pissed off about this. You should be absolutely 100% disgusted by this. Okay, and literally all PlayStation had to do was saying, we're going to charge everybody $30 for this expansion. And that might be a pricier expansion a little bit, but still it's nothing. But the fact it was how they worded it. They worded it so bad, and it was just so stupid for them to charging you $10 so that way you can use your fucking hardware that you already fucking paid for. So disgusting. So stupid. So stupid. Sorry for my phone. I will turn it down. But I can't believe, and the worst part is that PlayStation players are just rolling over, showing their belly and saying, it's okay. It's okay. And I don't understand why a lot of people aren't saying just pay the damn thing. Why should you pay it? What's the reason for it? Okay? What's the reason for it? Quit treating these large companies like they're charity cases. These are billion-dollar companies, trillion-dollar companies. Stop treating them like they're charity cases, okay? Demand more from them. Demand more from them. Not agreeing with their raising prices on shit just because they're being greedy motherfuckers. But that's that. And then yesterday was also Sony State of Play, and it was god awful. It was a bunch of indie games and a Bethesda game, Deathloop. If I was a PlayStation fan, would I like how they're announcing games? Would I like how they are showing off games? Instead of releasing them all, kind of doing this great big old thing at E3, and instead of doing it our own way and announcing these little PlayStation State of Plays, showing off little bits, pieces here and there, would I like this? And I was watching it yesterday, and honestly, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. You know why? You know, I was watching once again on a live stream of Mav, Fun Speculation, I believe is his YouTube channel, and I was just like, they were doing like a kind of a 2 hour pre-show for like 30 minutes of footage, 30 minutes of whatever their show was, and I was just like, this isn't respecting our time in the sense of you're announcing it. Okay, we're gonna go watch it. We see it. That was really what the fuck you made all this hype about was for. Really, that was it. Really. Yeah. So I was left kind of baffled. Whenever it was over, I was like, was that really that? Was that all? Um. So Yeah, I mean, I don't like how they do it over there on PlayStation side, but I mean, they aren't going to change until they hear a lot of feedback from their consumers. So that's that. That's all the gaming stuff we have. And I hate kind of ranting about shit like this, but it's stuff that needs to be said, definitely. And if you're a PlayStation person with a PlayStation podcast, go out there and do the right thing and say this is 100% unwarranted. Stop sticking up. Stop treating these billion-dollar companies like they're charity cases. Stop doing that. Okay, they can afford to give you the fucking haptic feedbacks without charging you fucking $10. They're nickel and diming you. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. But that's all the gaming news. Guess we'll talk a little bit about football before we get into the UFC stuff. So the Cardinals and DeAndre Hopkins have agreed to a 2-year, $54.5 million deal. Congratulations to DeAndre Hopkins, and I like that very much. I like it because of the length of the contract. I like it because of the timing, and I feel like they gave him a pretty large amount of money right now because so that way they can have enough money saved up for cap space. So that way they can give to little quarterback. What's his name? I'm so bad with names. Whenever I come on here, Oklahoma guy. What's his name? Anyway, that was kind of the what I kind of saw more was why they gave him was the length of the contract. Was so that way they can have so that way they can have enough money to give. What's his name? Dang it! Sorry, guys. I can picture his freaking face in my head. Where's number one? It's a little guy, Oklahoma. Um, Great podcasting, right? Oh, there he was. Kyler Murray. Jesus Christ, why couldn't I remember that name? But yeah, so that way they can give money to Kyler Murray, and Kyler Murray is one of these guys who we can absolutely ball. You know, don't make any. He's a guy who he can. He's a special quarterback. He's a franchise guy. So yeah, so that's was that. The next thing is kind of the great big Aaron Rodgers controversy. When is he going to report? So training camp is right around the corner. Literally, I believe July 27th is whenever I believe Pittsburgh and Dallas are going to be reporting because they're going to be playing in a Hall of Fame game. So, and right shortly thereafter is everybody else. So when is everybody going to show up? When are people going to show up to? When if is Aaron Rodgers going to show up at all? I think he's going to completely 100% miss all of training camp, all of it. And he's going to show up sometime during the season. Who knows if it's going to be week one? I think he's going to show up week one and they're going to go from there. But he's not a happy camper. He is not a happy camper. Not at all. And Aaron Rodgers. It's one of those topics that you can't really talk too much about because even though we know Aaron Rodgers is unhappy with Green Bay Packers, he's not coming out and saying anything about it, you know? And that's the most frustrating thing is okay, tell us why are you unhappy? You can easily say you're unhappy because of your contract. You can easily say you're unhappy because of Jordan Love. But but they never do. Um yeah, but I don't even know. Aaron Rodgers thing. Well, all we have to do is wait and see, and hopefully he says anything. But other than that, it's just purely speculation on other people's parts, whether or not he. is going to report or not or show up when he will show up. I think he's going to be there week one, but don't expect to see him during training camp. And then the next thing is Colts GM not willing to give A plus money to B players. This is one of these things that I saw on the Pat McAfee show, and I thought it was interesting. What's his name? Starts with a B. Colts GM Barnwell, Baldwell, anything not that important. But he went on to some other person's show and said this, and the question is, who did he mean by this? Was he talking about Julio Jones? There was questions that they were in the Julio Jones sweepstakes. Was he talking about Tom Brady? There was also questions that maybe Tom Brady would go there, and who knows? I believe he was kind of talking about Julio Jones. That would be my opinion. I feel like they were very interested in Julio Jones, and having him opposite T.Y. Hilton would be absolutely phenomenal. A great pairing, but I think money got in the way there, and they couldn't pull the trigger. And so he went to Tennessee, and we will see um, whether or not that was a good or bad thing. Um, Julio Jones can still play. Julio Jones is still an absolute monster. He's such a crazy guy, such a great weapon to have. So glad he got out of the place he was dissatisfied in and over there in Atlanta, and now he's where somewhere where they're really pushing for it, the Tennessee Titans. So that's all the football stuff, you guys. All the football stuff, very light stuff. Obviously, it's was a holiday and still out of season, and it'll kind of pick up back up more once their teams start reporting. And there's going to be a lot more drama around the teams than once whenever there are players around the facilities. But yeah, so that's all the sports stuff. Now we are going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the amazing fight card this week. UFC 264, McGregor versus Poirier 3. And before we get to our picks, before we get to my picks, we'll go ahead. And there's still a lot of news to discuss about the UFC. Dana White on Damian Maya. He believes it's time for Damian Maya to just go ahead and hang him up. And I would agree there with Dana. Um, Damian Maya's been fighting fucking forever. But it just kind of it comes there comes a day where you just have to say enough is enough and it's time to move on. It's never fun watching an older gentleman getting completely knocked out by a guy who's like 15 years younger than him. That's never fun. So I would agree with Dana White there. It's time for David Maya to kind of go, and we'll see. Maybe he can do some jiu-jitsu stuff. But he's going to be around the sport for quite a while. And the UFC could cut ties. Next topic: UFC could cut ties with Francis Ngannou. Dana White says he's grown an ego, and of course, I think there is no goddamn way in hell the UFC will cut Francis. No way. 0%. 0.00000 chance. This is 100% just Dana White doing what he does. He trashes fighters who are unhappy, who speak their mind. This is what Dana White does. This is one of his flaws he does. And guess what? If he hears me saying this, he would say, "What the fuck do you know? Shut the fuck up." And okay, that's fine. That's the Dana White route. You don't know what you're talking about. Shut the hell up. That's what he does. And this is just one of his leverage tools. He trashes fighters whenever they're unhappy, whenever they're causing him problems, and whenever they're making him money and playing a good soldier, he hypes them to the moon. Um, Doing things he wants, that's what he does. But yeah, so let me say this one more time. There is 0.00000% chance that the UFC cut ties with Francis Ngannou. Not now. Not now. They would much rather just let him sit over there, If you don't want to defend your belt, we'll go ahead and strip you, but you're not going anywhere. Nowhere. You are not going anywhere, Francis. So don't read too much into this. I wouldn't be surprised if here in a couple of weeks they announce everything's good and Francis and Dana White post some kind of picture up to social media of them um, on Instagram or something like that of two friends getting along. But yeah, there's that. And then the next thing is Greg Hardy is in the news. Whenever he was doing his um, questions about the fight, he was asked about Derek Lewis, and he said some very nasty things about the great Derek Lewis, calling him an ex-con and making fun of his cardio. I think he also called him fat. Yeah. Um, there was always that thing of Derek Lewis saying he would love to fight Greg Hardy, um, because he's like a woman beater and stuff like this, which he is. He got in trouble for it. He went to court and he lost his NFL career because of this. That's why he's in the UFC now. And Greg Hardy was saying all this stuff about Derek Lewis, and my 2 cents is you kind of brought this upon yourself. First off, okay, you can stand up for yourself and law and all this other stuff, but whenever it comes to public opinion, nobody's going to feel sorry for you. No one is going to really agree with you whenever they understand the accusations you were accused of and the stuff you did to that woman. Um, Nobody's going to feel sorry for you. Nobody's going to agree with you. Everybody's going to agree with Derek Lewis. And you're kind of coming out and, okay, speaking about it, and you're saying that you will kick his ass in 10 years. You're saying right now, obviously, he's a better fighter than you, but that you'll beat him up in 10 years' time. I mean, what the fuck? In 10 years' time, Derek Lewis is going to be gone or whatever. But he didn't say exactly 10 years, but he said, in the future, what, we'll fight. We'll do it in the future whenever I'm better. And it's just like, why? I hate whenever guys just talk trash, do their trash talk, and then say, we'll fight in the future whenever I'm better. Why are you punching up above your weight class then? Why are you doing that? Um, but yeah, if you're Greg Hardy, this comes with, it comes with what you did. There's always going to be that stigma attached to you. I'm not a Greg Hardy fan whatsoever, purely because of what he did, purely because of all the accusations of about him, and it's disgusting. It's disgusting, 100%. If you want to go ahead and look that up yourself, you can go ahead and do that. But we're not going to really talk too much about that stuff here. But anytime I see Greg Hardy fight, I hope he gets a fist drilled it through his head. That's every single time I see. Hope whenever I see him fight. But this is the career he chose. He chooses now, and hopefully one day he and Derek Lewis does fight, and hopefully Derek Lewis does knock him out. That would be my dream. That would be great. That would be great. You know. But yeah, so that's my 2 cents on Greg Hardy and Derek Lewis. Greg Hardy, keep your mouth shut. Not only because you cannot compete with Derek Lewis right now, but also because you brought this upon yourself. Focus on your next fight. And then the next topic before our UFC 264 picks is Sean O'Malley. Fighters are jealous of him. Also, once again, once never he was available to the media, once never he arrived at um, in Las Vegas for the fight card, he was asked, why are so many people taking shots at you, Sean? And his response was that they're just jealous of him because he's getting all this spotlight. He's becoming a pretty big star, pretty big thing amongst UFC people in the UFC. In the UFC circles, Dana White absolutely loves him. I love watching Sean O'Malley fight. I love watching seeing him fight. He throws these crazy shots. He's literally out there to put a show on for you. And if you're a UFC fan, if that's what you like, if that's what you enjoy, then that's what you hope a fighter does. You don't want a guy to go out there and lay on people. He's not in the business of laying on people. He's in the business of making a highlight reel. So I like it, and I totally agree with him. People are jealous of him. A lot of people work their asses off, and to see a punk kid with rainbow colored hair and Gucci glasses and whatever, and arriving on a private plane, to see that definitely would get under my skin. Um, but yeah, so I think he's 100% right there, definitely. Um, that a lot of people are jealous of him. I agree. He's probably the biggest name at 135. Probably is. Give me a bigger name. Maybe Dominic Cruz, but who knows what Dominic Cruz is doing? TJ Dillashaw. A lot of people have jumped off the TJ Dillashaw bandwagon, and we'll see how he'll look against Cody Sanhagen. You know, uh, I don't think Jose Aldo isn't really there. A lot of people have been jumping off of him because of how the last fight went and how he kind of acted after that. Piotr Jan, he's not much of a talker. He's kind of one of those guys who keeps his head down, but he's a very violent individual. Jose Aldo, we don't really know too much about Jose Aldo now. So I think he might be the biggest star at 135, the most recognized name, the guy everybody might want to see at 135 might be Sean O'Malley. And I know I'm sorry I'm on his nuts or whatever, but these are the fighters I like. Fighters that go out there and try to put on the show for us. Um, so yeah, so that's I would totally agree with Sean there. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the picks for UFC 264. So let me bring up the fight card here on my other device. It's already locked and loaded, and I'm only going to be picking the main card. But I was kind of last night. I was going through the other card, the early prelims and the preliminary card, and it's such a loaded. I mean, Brad Tavares is fighting on early prelims. I mean, so tomorrow you got to watch the whole card through and through and watch everything. Carlos Condit versus Max Griffin for the main event of the preliminary card. Wow. Nico Price versus Michael Piera. That's going to be an amazing fight there. And also Ryan Hall is coming back, so it's a great fight card. That's just those are fights that are just like on either the early prelim or the preliminary card. So it's it's great stuff. So let's go ahead and start our picks. Sean O'Malley versus Chris Montano. I watched the Chris Montano interview, and he seems like a good lad. He seems like a good kid. But he's gonna be in there against, Sean O'Malley is so freaking huge in that division. I mean, look, he's 5'9", and Chris Montano is 5'6". His reach, he has a 4-inch reach advantage. Sean O'Malley is so huge for 135. So I think he's gonna beat him. I'm gonna go ahead and write these down. And we'll say a second round TKO. That's how I predict it's gonna go. Yeah, Sean O'Malley is so. I mean, I already talked about him quite a bit. So each, make sure you watch that fight. Make sure you watch it. And then we have Irene Aldronado versus Yana Kunskia. I honestly don't know too much about either one of these ladies. It's going to be in the bantamweight women's 135 pounds. And I am going to go ahead and go with, usually on things where I don't really know about people too much, I'll pick the taller fighter, or I'll go ahead and I'll pick Irene Aldrada. We'll do unanimous decision. All right. Next up, Tai Tuivasa versus Greg Hardy. And I'm going to pick Tai Tuivasa. Tai Tuivasa is a tank of a man. He's a guy who's going to walk forward, and he is going to test your gas tank very much. He's a big step up for Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy's going to have a 5-inch reach, 5.5-inch reach advantage. He has a 2-inch advantage when it comes in terms of height. But yeah, but I'll still pick Tai Tuivasa. He's gonna come forward and he's really gonna test you. So Tai, and we'll go ahead and say second round KO. There's that. And co-main event now. Gilbert Burns versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. ST. And I think he's going to go decision. And I think he has a lot of people say look at his striking, and his striking is absolutely phenomenal. And I would agree with that very much. He comes from a karate background, but he's 38 now, and he understands that this is his last pretty much run, I would say. And he's one of the ultimate good guys in the sport, and I would love to see him fight Kamar Usman and see how that fight may go. But right now, he has a huge test in front of him against Gilbert Burns, and it's going to be a great fight. Great fight. I'll pick Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, unanimous decision. Now, the main event of UFC 264. Dustin the Diamond Poirier versus the notorious Conor McGregor. And, I was kind of going back and forth for quite some time about this fight. And it hasn't been that long since Dustin Poirier knocked out Conor McGregor back in January. I think it was UFC 259. And, I want to pick Conor McGregor. And I was watching their press conference, and I feel like Conor McGregor is kind of the story is Conor McGregor's stopped being the nice guy. He's not the nice guy like he was back in Abu Dhabi and Fight Island. It's back to him talking shit. He's going after Dustin Poirier's wife. And the thing is, Dustin Poirier doesn't care now. He doesn't care. And I feel like he's trying to get under Dustin Poirier's skin, trying to get him to fight emotional. And, his trash talk wasn't that good. I don't think it was. I think he was a couple of steps behind. Dustin Poirier, I think, landed the better cheap shots there at the UFC press conference. If you didn't watch those, go watch them. It's very entertaining. And Conor was just acting like a fool out there. And and I like his gimmicks. I really do. I think it's very entertaining. But this time it was just like he was trying too hard. And I think even Dustin Poirier said, "Man, you used to be better at this." And Conor McGregor was just talking mess, whatever, and he was calling him the Buster Douglas of the UFC, saying he got lucky, whatever. But he didn't like it at all whenever Dustin Poirier was going back after him, whenever saying that he knocked him out. And it's going to be an interesting fight. And the longer this fight goes, I believe the more of an advantage Dustin Poirier is going to have. The longer this fight goes, the more he does. Because Conor McGregor pretty much blows his wad early on in the fight. And we'll see, we'll see. But Conor McGregor, he has that laser accuracy. With one punch, he can end the show. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick Dustin Poirier. Decision. Split decision. Yeah, so that's going to be an amazing fight card. Amazing fights going on in that the fight card. And whew, yeah, that was a fight that I've constantly been going back and forth. Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor. And I can definitely see Conor McGregor coming out and knocking him out in the first round. And I can see the same thing for Dustin Poirier knocking out Conor McGregor. But it's going to be that's a hard fight to pick. Connor's going to have to make a lot of adjustments, and we'll see how the fight goes. But yeah, I'll pick Dustin Poirier. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's all of our picks for this fight card. Thank you so much for watching the show. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter. It's at the Mario Loya Show podcast. You can send me messages there about the show, questions you may have. You can pretty much ask anything about any topics. You can even say, "What's up, ugly?" and that will be cool too. So thank you so much for watching the show. That has been the show, and we'll talk to you guys later. And go buy UFC 264. It's gonna be a great fight card. Peace.